Legendary Bob Letterer is back. We're here to talk all things New York Jets and beyond. Plus, speaking of Beyond Broadway Joe, the Super Bowl team that changed football, baby. We'll talk about some of that too. Boy Green Daily starts right now.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Paul Lesden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. First off, another shout-out to number one Austrian Jets fan. I continue to wear all the gear he sent me from Austria. Nice, the Wrecking Crew. That's the one white man dance move I could do at a wedding, the Quinn and Williams dance. You know this one? I could get that one in, so I appreciate that, Austrian Jet fan. Thank you very much. Without further ado, let's bring in our special guest who joins us every week. He is a glutton for punishment, apparently. So let's bring him in. It is Bob Letterer, baby, our resident New York Jets historian. Bob, what's up?
How many gosh darn bananas have you actually lost this week?
That's true. I've been trying to count and keep track. There's personal bananas. There's professional bananas. There's just a lot of bananas, Bob. I'm going to be honest. It's hard to put a number on it. How about you? What is your current number?
To quote a great philosopher. Wow.
That is a great philosopher. There's no question about it. And Bob, this was a topic matter that we've sort of danced around, but people wanted us to dive deeper into it. And there are, well, first off, before I get into potential Jets that could enter the Hall of Fame, how do you feel about players that are in the Hall of Fame that technically count for the Jets but didn't play for them for a long time? Because the Hall of Fame bylines say, like, for instance, Ed Reed, who played part of his final season with the Jets, counts, technically speaking, as a Jets Hall of Famer. Do you look at those Jets Hall of Famers, quote unquote, sideways?
I don't look at they're not Jets in the Hall of Fame.
No.
I'm glad they give us the end of their career, and too often the end of their career is the end of their career. We're the last stop on the train. I mean, look, again, my age is showing itself, but what's his name? Who was the great safety for San Francisco all those years?
Ronnie Lott, baby.
Yeah, Ronnie Lott. Is he a Jet in the Hall of Fame? No.
He is.
Great
player.
What about, but I must admit I have a soft spot in my heart for those guys for giving us an opportunity to put on our colors for a year. Obviously, if they couldn't play at all, I'd like to think the coaching staff would say, no, we don't want to go that way. But Ronnie Lott was a darn good player at the end of his career.
And several on this list of guys that had cups of coffees with the Jets respectively, and some of them vary. Some of them were good. I like what LaDainian Tomlinson brought to the New York Jets. But there's other players that could be on this list. So, I mean, this list is long. There is guys like Steve Atwater on this list. There's Art Monk on this list.
I didn't remember Atwater on the Jets.
Exactly. See, that's what I mean. You know, Brett Favre, obviously, on this list.
Don't say that name.
I know that one.
Believe you didn't say that.
There you go, Jason Taylor. You know, Jets legend, of course. He's on this list.
He gave him a good year. He did.
Yeah, he did, and that was our second AFC Championship year. So that one was very nice. So yeah, there's a varying list, but
I'll give him a little bit of credit because his kid is now on our team. So
that's true.
I'll give him. He'll get an extra pass at the bus stop.
Right. So I appreciate the bluffed up numbers here. If you go to the Hall of Fame website, the Jets have 20 New York Jets Hall of Famers. But if you kind of
do the Jets list it that way?
That's a good question. I don't think the Jets have a section on their website that lists their Hall of Famers like that. So I have nothing to compare to.
I don't think they would do that. No.
I would hope not. But hey, different strokes, different.
It's. Again, being in Chicago and everything, I have to in some way put into that perspective. Sure. I don't see the Bears talking those ways at all. And in fact, I don't recall too many guys who have played or ended their career with the Bears who were great players elsewhere. I
That's a
think the
good
Bears should.
question. I'd have to think about that one.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that's the case.
No,
They've had
no.
enough. They've had enough really good players here.
I guess that's true.
Even in their bad years, they had some great individual players.
So, do you think that's a New York thing or what? I mean, they're
I
not
think
the
it's
only
that.
team ever. Like my dad is a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. He says
I think
Emmett Smith. Emmett Smith played for the Arizona Cardinals, so it's not like no one has ever done this, but it seems like it happens more in New York
I
with the
think it's a
Jets.
Jets. I think it's a Jets desperation move because of how
Mm,
few players we have in the Hall of Fame and how
mm.
much Jet fans want to have something to feel good about.
Well, something that made us feel good is the collective energies that finally got Joe Klecko into the Hall of Fame a couple years ago. Long overdue, it required the senior committee. And some of these names we're going to talk about today will require the senior committee. Some will not. Some are still eligible on the modern ballot, which gives them 25 years. And one name I want to start with is a name that you brought up last time. And I wanted to double check how deep in the process he made it before. And that's Larry Grantham. He would have to be a senior committee player, and he did make it on the list of 31 seniors that were eligible before they made another cut down that brought it to 3 finalists that ultimately, I think only one ended up making it through to the Hall of Fame that's coming up in
You're talking about
2025.
this. You're talking about in the most current uh, voting.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is from 2024. The 31 players that made it to the next step, and after this 31, they cut it down to 9, and then after that 9, they cut it down to 3, I believe, that were
Mhm.
up for voting. And Larry Grantham made it on that list of 31.
Mhm.
So that's good news. I mean, it's better than not
Well,
making it at all, I suppose. But
I think the other guy from the '60s era that should be on that list is Sonny Werblin.
mm,
Sonny
let me see.
Werblin had an impact only from '63 when he and the syndicate bought the team until uh, some early in '68 when he was forced out by the other owners. But having signed Namath, which nobody had any realization that he'd be able to do because the Jets were a terrible football team.
Mm-hmm.
But having also hired Weeb. By the way, at the recommendation of the Colts owner that had fired Weeb.
Mm.
And basically the spiral that Sonny started by signing Joe and then throwing money in such a way that the other AFL owners did so. Some of them had already been doing that. Kansas City, to a lesser degree, in San Diego, because Kansas City had Lamar Hunt as their owner, and San Diego had a guy whose last name was Hilton, Baron
Mm.
Hilton.
Well.
So they both had money. But what happened right after that is by '66, the year after Namath had signed, money started being thrown at college players like unbelievably. A little bit like you see all this money being thrown at NBA, superstars now. Who can pay their NBA superstar 55 million? Okay, now who can pay him 60 million a year? That sort of thing. But that was
Yeah, we're
going
up to
on.
70-something million now in that regard.
Yeah, but that was going on in the in the hundreds of thousands and multi-year contracts and such. And so Sonny was really the guy that started that, and he was encouraging all the other AFL owners to do the same. And when the first merger talks started in '66, Sonny told the
Mhm.
other owners, "Don't do it. We don't need to do it. We don't need to pay them a dime. If we play this right in the next year or so, they'll pay us to join the National Football League." So Sonny Werblin was really a guy who moved mountains in a very short amount of time. Very smart businessman. So he should definitely be on that roster. And in fact, I don't have any sway on this, but I'm gonna take a look and see how I can even just drop the idea on some of the people who are on those committees.
That would be tremendous. And I would say this for anyone that would look sideways at Sonny or any other, uh, coach or contributor or player. Gale Sayers, Kansas Comet, he's in the Hall of Fame with a short career. Terrell Davis, TD, he's in the Hall of Fame with a short career. Patrick Willis, most recently, he's entering the Hall of Fame with a very short span of time. So it's not always the quantity; it could be the quality of the play, or coaching, or
Yeah,
contributing, or anything.
it's not like the Baseball Hall of Fame, which I believe you have to play 10 years
Sure, right?
to be eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Because football obviously is a totally different
Well, yeah,
game as
a
far as
vicious game.
longevity.
Yeah. So so Larry Grantham, one of the I appreciate that on Sunny. That's another one we talked about last time.
Another one
Yeah,
that I'll
yeah,
drop to you from
sure.
again from the Super Bowl team, Bob Talamini. A
Mm,
guy, he played 1 year for the Jets,
wow. Okay.
but he had been, I believe, a 6-time All AFL guard.
Mm,
Um, and geez, I can't remember the guy in Buffalo. Billy Shaw
mm-hmm.
was the greatest guard in AFL history. And Talamini was right behind him. I mean, to be named, all league like that every single year. Again, as I made the point a couple of times already in my previous episodes, um,
Mm-hmm.
the league was getting better and better and better. And guys like Matt Snell, they were not getting better and better and better. They were still great players, but they were not dominating like they had when the league was very thin in talent. But Talamini was getting better and better, even as the linemen he was playing against were getting bigger and bigger and faster and stronger. Talamini was a little tank, and he really knew how to play. So there's another guy that I would give very, very strong consideration to. Trying to think who else.
Yeah. Who else would be on that list?
Too many of the others, their careers were short. I mean, yeah, I mean, I love Matt and I love Emerson if George Sauer had played a few more years, he definitely not only would have had consideration, but he would have made it because he was going to break Raymond Berry's catching records,
Mm-hmm.
back then, and he was already, if I can mention it in the book,
Yeah.
I believe he played 5 or 6 years, and if you just take it year by year as an average and extend it out for 10, he would have passed Ray Berry. So, but he retired early. He'd had enough. So those are the guys. Grantham and Talamini and Werblin are the guys from that era that deserve to be there.
Quick detour, just because you brought up Matt Snell. I have your book in front of me, again, for those who haven't gotten it. I know several have. Several have been giving me updates, so we'll open up the phone lines in the second half, and you can
And
call
thank
in
you. And thank you to
for your
all of those
questions.
who have,
Yes.
finally discovered the book.
Yes. Yeah. They've been giving us updates. Hep has called in, and several others, about reading the books and getting to different chapters and sharing some of the stories that you have in the book, and have other questions. So again, Beyond Broadway Joe, wherever you get your books, the Super
Bring
Bowl team
on,
that changed
bring on
football,
any
on
questions.
Amazon.
Bring on any questions you got today.
Yeah, please do. I have a question. Your four words were by Jerry Philbin and Matt Snell. Why did you choose those two players?
Well, on offense, because Joe wouldn't talk to me.
No. Well, okay, there you go.
And Matt was the obvious guy because, and when nobody had heard from him in years, as we talked about last week.
Yes, right.
And Jerry was the head of the defense. He was not Namath, but he was the leader of the defense, the way Joe was the leader of the offense. And he was very outspoken. And I know he'd be. In fact, I decided to have him write that first chapter with me after I talked with him, the first time. And I think I mentioned that I had a hard time getting Jerry to talk to me. But when I finally got him on the phone and started talking, I couldn't get him off. He kept just telling me everything and filling my ear. And I finally said to him, we got to do this again. And we did a couple more times.
By the way, so you said like Namath wouldn't talk to you with a laugh. Like, was there some beef there? Or what was up with you and Joe?
Do you do hand signals?
Oh, money. Okay, now I can see.
Here's the inside story.
Okay, give it to me.
I got his agent on the phone. I was surprised he was willing to talk to me.
All right.
I knew nothing about the book. And I told him the book is about all the other guys on the team. He said, well, you don't have a book without Joe. And I said, well, actually, the book's already been sold to a publishing company. And the reason they told me they wanted to publish it because no one had ever done a book about everybody else on the team. And it was a very brief silence, not an extended silence, whatever. And I said, listen, I would just like Joe, to talk to me to clarify a couple of things. I said, I've all but written his chapter. And actually, I think I mentioned this when we first started to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Every chapter in the book, I passed by the player that it was about.
I
to
love
make
that. I love that.
to make sure that the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed, and the T's were dotted and the I's were crossed.
Good work on
And
you.
almost no one made any changes. I did talk to Joe's original agent,
Mm-hmm.
who had been responsible for helping him put together the record first contract, and Mike Byte. And I found him in Alabama. He was still in practice. I think he's passed on. I could be wrong. But he read the chapter and he said, you got everything right except one thing. And I said, what did I not get? And he said, you say that Joe actually had an agreement with the Jets before he played in the Orange Bowl game, which was his last college game,
Right.
and where they lost to Texas. Yeah, he tried a quarterback sneak, and he got stopped short. And everybody swears, he included Sonny Werblin, who was on the sidelines right at the goal line, swore up and down that he had actually gotten in. But anyway, he said that's the only thing. He clarified to me what Walt Michaels had told me, and Michaels
Mm-hmm.
had said to me, we had him under contract when that game was played. And the way Mike Byte told me it was, the Jets had given them the contract. The Jets had signed the contract, and Joe had not. And Joe signed it right on the field,
Oh, wow.
right after the game. So
Hmm.
Joe had, he had scruples. He wasn't going to screw up his college eligibility, or have anybody deny that he had, or anybody assert that he had done that he had actually played ineligibly. So anyway, Joe, so getting back to my conversation with Joe's agent, he was very nice. And I said, look, I just would like him to clarify a couple of things for me, or like, and he said, like what? And I told him, well, for instance, John Schmidt told me that on the sidelines during the Super Bowl game, early on, the Jets saw that Baltimore was using the same signals as the Jets offense was.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh. And he went to Joe,
Oh, okay.
and Joe said, no, I want to get paid. And I said to the agent, I can't pay Joe and not pay anybody else. And if I do that and the players ever find out, I will be not only scrutinized, I'll be sent to Devil's Island.
Yeah.
And he said, well, now I went back to him another time at the end of
Mhm.
the book, but just
Okay.
before before it was published. I said, okay, he won't talk to me. We got that right. I said, here's what I would like. I would like a copy of the $400,000 contract to put in the book.
Okay. Cool.
And he said, okay, and why would I do that? And I said, because it's part of Jets history.
Mhm.
Yes, it's Joe, but it's part of the American Football League's history and Jets history and Pro Football's history. And I think it would be a very fitting thing to have. I said, I have contracts from a handful of the players, but obviously the contract that Joe Namath had at the beginning is such. And he said, well, okay. And he said to me, all right, I'll ask. And I said, and here, listen, let me just take a step forward with you. Joe's going to say to you, why should we do that?
Mhm.
And again, I'm going to say to you to tell him it's Jets history, it's AFL history, it's pro football history, and it's not just about Joe. And the agent came back to me and said, Joe said to me, why should we do that? I said, so,
Mm.
okay, now I know what's really gone on here, and that's fine. He doesn't want to do this. I said, but when people ask me, did I talk to Joe? I'm not going to hide the fact that I didn't. And I'm not going to hide the fact that you guys insist on getting paid. So we left amicably. Now I saw the agent the 50th anniversary weekend
Right.
in the hotel.
Mhm.
He was there along with everybody else. I think he represented. Well, he certainly represented Paul Crane,
Okay.
but there were others. And he said to me, he said, "Oh, I'm glad I finally get to meet you." And I said, "Me too." And he said to me, "I've heard some really nice things about the book." And I said,
Oh, terrific.
"I told
Great.
you, I
Yeah.
told you." And I said, "And Joe has the longest chapter in the book." So I wasn't out to hurt Joe. Joe is paranoid about control. Everything that's ever been written about him, like there was a really well done book about Joe that I have, that he was asked to participate in after the author started to write it. And didn't agree because he said, "I want to have total control over what's said." And that book lays out a lot of stuff about him personally and professionally.
Is
Yeah, I
that the
think
Mark Kriegel one?
yeah,
This one?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, there you
And
go.
it's an excellent read. Not better than mine, but if you really want to know what Joe's all about, it's excellent. It really goes into everything about Joe. It virtually holds nothing back.
Mm.
Virtually.
So, a couple of follow-ups here. Did we ever, or did you ever find out how much Joe would have charged for this appearance, or to
Oh
sort of
no,
open the doors for you?
no. And this was 2017,
Yeah,
2016.
sure.
No, I never was going to get into it because, as I said, it would have really damaged my reputation with the other players. And I'd been told ahead of time that, for instance, Don Maynard would want to be
Mm.
paid. Don Maynard never asked to be paid anything, and he had
Okay,
his
because
son.
yeah, that's a question from the comment section. The Meadowland Swamp Thing asked, "Did anyone
Yeah,
else ask for payment, or was it just
yeah,
Joe?"
and Don's son Scott, very smart, very nice guy, was in on everything that was going on. And if anybody was going to ask me for that, it probably would have been Scott, but
Mhm.
he nor Don ever held back his availability or ever said. Nobody even asked, "Are you paying anybody?" And I
Outside of
was
Joe.
prepared to
Wow.
say,
Okay.
"Nope, nobody." And the reason why nobody was going to get paid is I didn't have the money to pay people.
And how
I
much
was
do you
just
even pay for that sort of thing,
you
if you were
know,
going to do that,
I
Bob?
think Joe probably would have asked for 25, 50, maybe. It depends on how long we wanted. I'm sure he would have given me, I'll talk to you for this long for this amount of money. And I could have never, only one player ever put a time restriction on how long he was going to talk to me.
Mhm.
And that was Billy Joe. And to his credit, um, at 59 and a half minutes, he said he'd give me an hour. Um, I said, "Billy, I've only got 30 seconds. Is there anything else you want to tell me?" And he said, "Bob, screw the 1 hour.
Oh,
Let's
I
talk
love
as
that.
long as you want to talk because you really know what you're talking about. And you've really done your research on me and everybody else on the team." And actually, Billy and I still talk now and then, and he's
Oh,
a
that's
great
so
guy.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's absolutely amazing. Someone wants you to tell a story. Let me pull up this comment. You guys can continue to send your questions, and we'll also open up the phone lines here. This is NC Green coming in saying, "Hey Bob, can you recount the Jimmy Breslin story about Joe being out till 5 a.m. the night before the AFC Championship game, or what would have been AFL
No, we
Championship
don't
game, I
know. We
assume?"
don't know the blonde's name.
Okay.
Joe's chapter talks about the fact that he told Playboy magazine after the Super Bowl, like
Hmm.
5 months later, that he liked a blonde and I forget the drink was, but two particular drinks, before a game. Yeah, he was. Everybody says he was out. There were policemen who saw him leave the hotel and he got to the game, in time for preparations and such, and he probably wasn't any more, out of kilt than he ordinarily was. There was one regular season game early on where he showed up and he clearly wasn't ready to play, and Weeb said, "Okay, well, I've got your backups and they're warming up and they're going to start." No. I can play. And he did. And didn't have any particularly good game, but yeah, Joe had a habit of doing that. But here's another little interesting angle on this. Pete
Okay.
Lamons, who became a very good friend, he was the tight end on the
Hmm.
team, and he and I just hit it off and had a great time. And I was so sad when he died like 3 years ago. He had a triple bypass, and 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, he got on a little rowboat to go fishing with his friends, fell overboard. They say he had a heart attack when he
Jesus.
was under the water, and he died. And I miss talking to him. I miss laughing with him. Um, I every time I'd get him on the phone, I say, "Hey, good morning. Is this the greatest tight end in Jets history?" And Pete would say, "Hold on a second. Let me see if he's here." Terrific. But anyway, Pete told me Joe wasn't the only one who was out,
Oh.
with friends the night before games. Uh,
Mm.
and he said, of course, in those days it was verboten. You just didn't do that sort of thing. But he said, believe me, he was not alone. And he gave me the kind of laugh that indicated he knew someone personally who was out
Mm.
the night before games and such. But that was the free love era. The 60s was a very unique time, and everything was really sexual, and there was a sexual revolution, and Werblin was playing it up. Werblin was making sure that Joe was seen out on the circuit every night with somebody else, and one
Interesting.
starlet
Wow.
after another. And the famous pictures of him with Raquel Welch. And
Hmm.
those of you who don't know who Raquel Welch was, just like they don't know who Bob Talamini was, go on YouTube and go look up Raquel Welch. Um, and of course, he also famously was pictured with Barbara Streisand. But anyway, that was that kind of an era.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. So, is that something that, excuse me, any other players or anyone had an issue with or anything?
Philbin said something to the effect of he didn't, and he was kind of the spokesman, at least for the book, of a lot of the guys as far as Joe and his behavior and his special treatment. Because Werblin admitted, yeah, there she is.
Yeah, there she is,
Not bad
Raquel
even not
Welch.
bad even by today's standards.
That's for sure.
Yeah, in fact, there are TV shows you can find on YouTube also when she was like 60 years old, 70 years old, and still was in fantastic shape.
Mm.
So yeah, she was every young male's fantasy, back
I
then.
can understand why.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, Philbin made the point that he didn't care and nobody else on the defense cared
Oh, okay.
as long as he showed up and was ready to play. And like I said, there were a few times when he didn't seem to be, but Joe had a reservoir of great physical fortitude and mental
Hmm.
fortitude where he could enjoy himself off and he can enjoy himself on the field.
Which, again, you can respect as long as he gets the job done on the field. We have a
Hey,
super chat coming
let me
in.
ask you,
Yeah,
Paul,
go
a
ahead.
question. Good.
Yes,
I won't
please.
dig this
Yeah.
question, but
No,
Paul,
no. Yeah, go ahead.
think about this.
Yes.
If the Jets had not won that Super Bowl and
Yeah.
Namath had been um, had succumbed to the Baltimore defense, which was dominant that year, do you think that he would be in the Hall of Fame?
I do not.
Yeah,
I do
I
not.
don't either. I mean, that game
Um,
made him. That game made him. And as I describe the book to a lot of people, I said it's mostly about the 45 other players who
right.
made or helped Joe become a celebrity for half a century.
And that's well said. I would say that it's sort of, from my perspective, not seeing it live, but I've seen the game a cajillion times because I have it on DVD. But
Yep.
seeing everything after the fact, it appears that it was the piece of the puzzle that put everything else together. The lifestyle of Joe Namath, the guarantee. It just was the final piece to say, oh, here is Joe Namath. Without that piece, the rest of it is jumbled. The rest of it's, oh, that's the guy that guaranteed and it didn't amount to
I,
anything
I, I have
and made fun of.
I've compared it to Ali with all the braggadocio and such.
Sure.
But if he
Yeah.
had not beaten Liston, he would have just fallen to the side like a lot of other contenders.
Yeah. That's a
But
good way
beating
to put it.
Liston and then dominant, he became much more dominant as the years went on
Hmm.
until he was, forced to give up his title because he wouldn't go into the service. But up until that point, and this is like from, I think he beat Liston in 63,
Mm-hmm.
up until like 68, 69, when they took his title away. Ali, every fight Ali fought, even against the Bum of the Month Club, was a must-see event because he danced and he stuck and he could do things that no other boxer had ever shown they could do. So I
Quite an
put him
entertainer.
and Namath basically on the same mountaintop.
Which again, which champions probably name it even more the fact that everything ended up working out, and now he's this cherished figure. He's on covers of magazines and books and dating all these
And and
wonderful
and
females.
and Ali was hated by so many people in the 60s because he was part of the revolution.
Correct.
And
Right.
yet over time, everybody came to love Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, and God rest his soul. One of
Yeah,
the greats
yeah.
of all time. All right, we have. You guys can continue to send these in. We have a super chat question for Bob, and every time we get a super chat question, we'll be right back into this.
Thank you for that. The super chat. You could get lucky here on the Boy Green Show. This show is daily. It's in the morning. Be sure to stay tuned. Let's go, Joe.
You have to
Thank you.
register your daughter
Yeah,
in DC.
yeah,
Because if anybody else tries to use that, and somebody will, you should get
yes,
compensated for it,
I
or
agree
she
with that.
should.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, she should, not me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just some money guy. Yeah, she's the one that deserves it. We'll put that in her college fund, respectively. Badshaw here, thank you for the $20 super chat. That goes towards your raffle ticket for the Jets Cowboys game. So
Thank you,
congratulations.
Brandon.
He said he finished the book on Monday. Really love that you talked about how the Jets were confident in stopping the flea flicker in the Super Bowl. Always heard Morale. I didn't see the receiver. It
Morrow.
would have been a touchdown.
Earl
Morrow, excuse me.
Morrow.
Yeah, Earl Morrow. Yes. Didn't see the receiver. Would have been a touchdown. Your thoughts, Bob?
Read Billy Baird's chapter.
Mm.
He saw the receivers. Um, the play was supposed to go, yes, to Jimmy Orr down the
Mhm.
left sideline near the goal line, and he was on the 5-yard line going like this. Here I am, and he threw the ball down the middle. He didn't have a lot of time.
Mhm.
He didn't have anybody in his face, but and they had run the play. Baltimore had run the play during the regular season. Now Walt Michaels told me the Jets were ready for it. Buddy Ryan, when they came into the locker room, because that was the last play of the first half, was
Sure.
screaming, "What the hell happened there? Why didn't we have Jimmy Orr covered? Come on, we've seen that play on film and such." Um, Billy Baird told me that he was the one that essentially was supposed to help out and cover Orr. Now that was Randy Beverly's guy, and
Mhm.
Randy got fooled on the play because when the ball went to Matty and he started to run to the opposite side of the field, the right side of the field, from Morrill, um, uh, Randy did what Baltimore wanted, and that is he took the sucker as a running play, and Orr just sped right back down past him, and it could be that Jimmy Orr was not seen by Morrill. When I watch the film, and you should too, I don't even think he looks in that direction. He
Mm.
looks over the middle, and that's where he threw the ball. And actually, it looked like Hill, who was out there, was open, and Hudson made a hell of a play at the last second and just jumped in front of him and intercepted it. So I don't think that Morrill didn't see Jimmy Orr. I think he thought he had a better immediate target, in his fullback down the field, who appeared to be wide open. Now, Billy Baird told me that he initially took the fake too, but adjusted. And Billy Baird told me that Baird, was the second fastest guy on the team, and he was racing like a bat out of hell towards Orr and swore to me. And Billy's still around, so
Mm-hmm.
I talk with him once in a while too. But he swore to me that if the ball had gone towards Orr, and here's what is so technical, but it's so interesting. Earl Morrall did not have a big arm.
Mm-hmm.
He had, who could I compare him to today? Um, he just didn't have a great arm. He had to throw his long passes high and on a big arc. Paul
Mm-hmm.
Rochester told me that because Paul Rochester played with Earl Morrall at Michigan State 10 years before. Um, and Rochester said to me, if he had thrown one of those typical high arcing passes, he said
Yep.
to me, I believe that Baird is right, that Baird would have gotten there, and Baird said I either would have knocked it down or I would have intercepted it. He said, because I had that kind of speed. And I asked Don Maynard, who was the fastest guy in the team, and he
Mm-hmm.
said to me, Billy Baird, yeah, was clearly the second fastest guy on the team. And if Billy told you that he would have gotten there and knocked it away, I believe him.
Okay.
And Maynard told me the whole team sat 6 months later and watched the game film because that was the
Mm-hmm.
last game they played. So in preparation for the next game, they watched the last game they played as a team. And they all watched that play and they all saw it could have been, a disaster, but nobody felt that the Jets wouldn't have been able to stop that play, as it was designed to be, run. Good question.
So, yeah, thank you, Badshaw, for that, and I appreciate you finishing the book again. Another plug, Beyond Broadway
And
Joe.
read Billy Baird. Really read the chapter on Billy Baird. He goes into that in some detail.
Yeah, so please do. The Super Bowl team that changed football. Again, you could get that currently on Amazon. All right, let's get some other comments in here on the channel. Love this one from Gator McCluskey. He said, I think if Namath had lost in Super Bowl III, would have cranked up his mission the next year and lead that team to victory. Joe had to have that ring to complete his story. That last piece I agree with. That just, again, completed
Well,
the
I think
story.
he would have been a lot more intent to get back there and try to
Sure.
win.
Right.
And the next year, again, this is Jerry Philbin. Philbin didn't think that Joe had the same commitment the next year that he had after he won the Super Bowl.
Interesting. And do
One
you?
man's one man's opinion.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I guess that's true. It's one
Yeah,
man's opinion on it. So,
yeah.
hey, I'll just say this. I'm glad the Jets have one. There's a lot of teams that have zero. And I always proudly champion this stat. I was just at, this just happened. I was just at a sub shop the other day picking up some food. I'm in line, and the guy sees me because I'm wearing Jet stuff every day. And he goes like, huh, the Jets, you must love a rough life, huh? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl this year. And he like laughs. And then this guy behind me says, what, is this guy an Eagles fan? I'm like, no, I'm a Jets fan. He's like, you're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm like, absolutely we are. This is our year. It's going to happen. And then they just, they just laughed. And I said, you want to know who's batting 1,000 in the Super Bowl? It's the Jets. They've never lost a Super Bowl, pal. They're one for
As I said
one.
before, in the words of a great philosopher, wow.
There it is. And
I
let's
have
get
to tell
another.
you, I have to tell you,
Yeah.
I have a Jets
Yeah.
rain slicker or something, and people see
Mm-hmm.
me around here wearing it, and they went, "You're a Jets fan." I said, "Yeah, wow, you you got a
I bet
tough
you get a
life."
lot of that.
And I say to them, I was 16 years old. I saw them win the Super Bowl. If they never win another one, I saw them win the Super Bowl, and not even I thought they were going to win. It was in my life. It was life changing.
Mm-hmm. And I
So
can't wait. It's going to
when
happen
they
again.
win again, and I think I
Yes,
know they're going to win again. It's
for
inevitable.
sure.
Hopefully, it'll be in my lifetime. But
Yeah.
the next one will put a big smile on my face, but it won't come close,
Yeah.
enthusiasm wise, to what I saw and what I felt. Like you asked me last week, what did I think as the game was going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the adrenaline,
Mm-hmm.
as it was 7-0, it was 10-0, it was 13
Mm-hmm.
nothing, it was 16-0, and then like 3 minutes were left, and they let Baltimore's onside kick get away, and the people, I was starting to sweat because it was 16-7 and Baltimore was moving and that sort of thing, and
Mm-hmm.
then the minute they stopped them the one last time, I just that's when the adrenaline really kicked in. And I remember I told you the story about my father saying, "What the hell is wrong with you?" As I was getting so excited, and my
Yeah.
uncle saying, "Leave him alone. He's experiencing something he's going to remember the rest of his life." And I looked at my uncle and my father at that point, and I just went, we did it. I can't believe it, but we did it. And then we all saw Joe go like this.
Beautiful. I
have
that.
all the newspaper clippings, Paul.
Yeah.
From back then. Oh yeah, from the 2 weeks before, from the championship game, the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, because and this is another reason why I was so sure they weren't going to win. There was nobody writing in the press that they had a chance.
Right.
And Dave Anderson, who wrote the perfect book about the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, and you've got that book, sure, I'm sure as well.
Yeah.
That he was not allowed in the New York Times to write a prediction, but he predicted they were going to win.
Wow.
And at halftime of the Super Bowl game, he was with a bunch of other writers, including Tex Maul, who famously was a Sports Illustrated writer who never thought the AFL was ever going to win a Super Bowl. And Tex Maul and a couple of other guys said, "Can you believe it that the Jets are winning this game?" And Dave Anderson told me he looked at Maul and said, "Yeah, I believe it. I thought they were going to win the game before the game started." So,
just that confidence.
I wish that every Jet fan, because there are so many Jet fans out there, and they so deserve to feel the euphoria of that day. I wish everybody could go back into the time capsule, time machine, experience that day, and just live what I lived. It was an amazing day.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that moment. It's going to hit. I was going to ask this anyway, but you mentioned some of it. What Jets memorabilia do you have at your place there, Bob?
Well, memorabilia. I have a couple of those books we've talked about.
Yep, right. Signed by the whole team. That's good.
Yeah, and a couple of others that I used for reference for my book.
Right.
I have a Jets windbreaker. I have a Jets cap. I've got to replace my cap. I don't know where I'm going to do that because I don't want to give Woody a dime. And in fact, every time Woody changes the uniforms, I send him a Twitter note and a note, and it says, "It's about the football team, not about the fashion show."
Has he ever responded?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
Pay your attention to what really matters. I mean, obviously they change uniforms because fans like to buy a new uniform.
It's true.
I thought it was really fascinating. What was it, 10, 15 years ago, where they brought back the Titans uniforms?
New York Titans. I love those uniforms. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I'd never seen a Titans game other than on some very, very hazy black and white video.
Right.
And it's interesting, but it's also interesting because we talked last week about why they don't talk to Matt, or Matt doesn't talk to them, and I've heard again that they don't think of themselves as being part of that era, yet they're willing to make a buck off that era.
Interesting.
Interesting. To me, it's kind of it's appalling in a way.
Quite.
Yeah.
And
I don't have a lot of memorabilia. I have a lot of yearbooks, even from back
I love
then.
those. Yeah.
And some. I have one yearbook from '64 that's in tatters because I kept writing my own little messages there, like on the Matt Snell page. It says, "A great player," and I think on Philbin's page it says, "Boy, he gets better and better." And that sort of thing. That's maybe my most prized Jet possession is because it goes back so far. But I have, and this is not Jet related.
Yeah,
I have from my uncle. I have a 1947 New York Yankees yearbook where before Yogi was Yogi Berra, he was Lawrence Berra in that book, and that I'm told that thing was worth $300 20 years ago. It's probably worth a lot more now.
I'd imagine. That's our Lou Alcindor before Kareem. I like
memorabilia. I have Yankee stuff and Met stuff and Rangers stuff and Knicks stuff. So yeah.
Okay, good. I love good memorabilia. Shout out to Badshaw here. Let's get that patented wow in.
Wow.
Thank you, Badshaw, for supporting the channel for a year. Proud to be in the coffee club. Great to have you. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. Here is another question for you coming in. Another wow. Wow. Edward Ziff has called in. Easy has called in a lot of times asking about this. So I'm glad that you're on the show when he's asked this question.
Yeah, I can tell you about this too. Yeah.
Okay, so for our audio-only listeners, the question coming in from Easy is, what's the truth about Walt Michaels after the Mud Bowl in Miami AFC Championship game? Was he fired? Did he quit? What is the truth? Bob, give it to us.
He was fired. But he was fired for reasons that his daughter, who's a great, great gal, and she was so kind to me and helping me to talk to Walt. Walt gave me the last interview that he ever did before he passed away, and Walt was another guy who didn't do interviews because he didn't think he was going to get a fair treatment. Walt was fired, and his daughter told me that he had a medical condition that made him look as if he was tipsy, but he wasn't. He had a medical problem, and I forget exactly what it is, but she did tell me about it. Yeah, he was fired, which I think was really one of the big mistakes the franchise ever made, because here was a guy that had taken them almost to the mountaintop that year, and he had been responsible very largely, as Weeb had been, in bringing in the right players and the right kind of players. And look, if Don Shula hadn't literally pulled the rug out from under the Jets, they probably would have won that game against Miami, because the Jets had such a fast and quick team and Miami didn't. And Miami knew that the Jet wide receivers were going to just leave the Dolphins defensive backs, standing still, and that the Jets would have won that game handily. Now, whether they would have done the same against Washington a couple of weeks later, we'll never know. But the Jets were primed to win that game, and that was my first year here in Chicago, and I remember how frustrated I was, because even the announcers kept talking about the condition of the field and how it was working against the Jets.
But why didn't the NFL look into this? So what did they do? Did they purposely do something with the field? Did they just purposely leave the tarp off? What did they do? Okay, they didn't cover it.
They didn't put. There were weather forecasts for heavy rain, not just the night before, but even I think part of the Saturday itself. And the Dolphins decided not to cover the field. And as a result of that, the NFL now is in charge of field conditions before all the playoff games and all the championship games and the Super Bowl.
So the Jets had to get kicked in the crown jewels for it to now be a rule so everyone else can benefit.
Yep.
Well, okay, there we go. Well, Easy's been asking that question forever, so
it's irony, and maybe it's kismet, maybe it's part of the deal that Joe made with the devil, to sell his soul if he would let him win that one game. Who knows?
All right, let's pair the past with the present here, and that is Luca having a comment coming in. Wow. Luca's been a member for 5 months, and he's hoping that the Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner contracts get done by next week. We are 8 days away from rookies reporting to training camp. We're 11 days away from the veterans reporting, and then training camp is there to start shortly thereafter. What's your take currently, Bob, on these two guys who are eligible for extensions? The Jets don't have to give them extensions, but they are eligible for them, and both players are under contract for the next 2 years if they do nothing. What should they do with Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, in your opinion, Bob?
If I were the players, I'd be protecting myself and my long-term earnings by just, maybe even refusing to play. I mean, it's one play and your career can be over.
Sure.
And Garrett had a terrific year last year, even though he was moaning and groaning the whole year, but not being given the ball. And Sauce, everyone agrees, didn't have his best year. I don't know. It's so difficult to really work this out when you're outside the organization, because you don't understand the financial implications.
Sure. And what's being asked? We don't know. It's all speculation. How much is Garrett Wilson asking for? How much is Sauce asking?
The implications of, every every $100,000 that you give them and what
Mhm.
it might mean down the road a year from now, or 2 years
Consequences,
from
right?
now. They have the experts, in the NFL, behind the scenes, just like they do in the NBA, where the
Hmm.
guys figure out, okay, we've got a cap, and we're not allowed to get over that cap, and we don't want to be over that cap because we get punished, uh,
Yes.
with everything. So I have a hunch that they both are going to get done, but how
Okay.
much money it's going to be,
Oof.
it's
Yeah.
really going to be up to Garrett and to Sauce and their respective agents as
Hmm.
to how much they really want to make. Look, it's Scott Burrows is the one who started this, and that is, let's get my guy up to 10 million, and then the next guy who's maybe not even as good, we're going to ask for 10 and a half, and then we're going to ask
Right.
for 11. They keep raising the stakes.
Yodelay,
Again,
yodelay, yodelay.
look,
Yep.
just look at this week in the NBA,
Oh
where
my gosh. Right.
where the I can't pronounce his name, Gilgis
Yeah.
Alexander.
It's Jay Gilgis Alexander.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he broke the record for money in a year.
Yep.
Well, great player, but he's not Kareem. He's not Wilt.
Hmm.
He's not a guy really who is that going to be much of a difference maker. He's a great player, a dominant player, but I don't see him as being a guy who's going to make or break. Or Jordan. Okay, he's not Jordan. He's
Sure.
not going to make or break and basically guarantee you that you're going to win a championship every year. Um, and
And then he
so,
immediately got topped. Devin Booker just got paid
exactly, that was
more.
my point. That was my
Yeah.
point. How many days did it take? You
Two or
know,
three, maybe a week. I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
tend to quote a great philosopher. Wow.
It's just incredible.
Wow. Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Anyway,
Either way, I like
so
it. Yeah.
so the last guy, the last wide receiver, and I don't watch this as closely because to me it's just monopoly money.
Sure.
The last wide receiver got X, and Garrett's going to ask for $1 more, probably more than that. And back in the old days, in the '60s, they literally asked for $1 more.
I like that.
So,
Price is right. It.
yeah,
That's
how silly is
nothing.
that?
You
And
know.
so, and Sauce is right up there. He's one of the two
Sure.
best, when he's at his best. And I think he's going to have a good year this year, all things being equal.
Hmm.
So, how much is that going to be? And how much can they manipulate contract wise so it doesn't go against, maybe it does go against the cap this year where they're not going to be
Sure.
probably hitting the cap number, and maybe a little bit next year and 2 years from now. And when the contracts then, or the cap will be $10 million
That
more or
that's
twenty
true.
million
So you can
dollars.
backload it. That's a good point, right?
In
And
fact,
you can
here's
anticipate.
my big thing that I don't understand about any of these
All
contracts.
right. Go ahead. Yes.
If I'm an owner
Yeah.
and I got, let's say, a 29-year-old player,
Okay.
any sport, okay,
Sure. All right.
and he wants $756 million over 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I going to pay him $50 million when he's 37 years old? Now, inflation will have taken a chunk out of that,
Sure. Of
but
course.
he's
Yeah.
not going to be as productive 15 years from now. Take that with an NFL player. They're not going to be as productive 5 years from now. The game
Right.
wears you down. The physical nature of it, it's I don't understand why it actually doesn't get smaller as you play. Now, your incentive, or the argument might be, well, his incentive is going to be down if he's only making 30 instead of 50 million a year.
Yeah.
But the reality is he's not going to be the same player, or there could be something in the contract that's based on productivity the year or 2 years before, which is a very common thing. But I don't understand why they're so willing to pay people. Look, in 5 years, Paul, you're going to be a much bigger star than you are now, and you're already a star. But
Wow. Thank you.
yes, but that isn't going to be the case with a lot of these athletes, because everybody knows it's not hard to see. You get past 30 years of age, and I can tell you, you get past 40, 50, 60, you get into 70, it becomes harder and harder to recover from even minor injuries
Yeah.
as you go on. And
Mm.
football, wow, football is, all injuries. That's really what it's all about. How does a team survive all the injuries. Like, look at the Lions last year; they were decimated
Oh my
by the end of
goodness.
the year.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely destroyed.
anyway,
Absolutely destroyed. Bob, do
but
you have
yes,
any good?
I think they'll get a contract. They'll get a contract done. I don't know. I hope it's not long term, so that it's fair to both sides. But hey, I'm not an agent.
I would just, in that same vein, I think it's good for all parties because if it's somewhere in the ballpark, my guess is like a 3-year deal for both. Is it allows the players to dip again if they're as great as they think they're going to be, they can cash in again. And for the Jets, it's not a 20-year commitment; it's a 3-year commitment. We get someone for now. We want to try to do this in this amount of time, and you guys want to make your money. It should work out for everybody. So my
And I'll
assumption,
say
my
one more thing
guess, would be
about this
3 years.
before we move
Yeah,
on.
of course. Please.
I salute Garrett for saying he wants to be a Jet for life. I think Sauce
Yes,
does too.
he did.
And
Yep.
my first reaction to that was, why? After
Dedicated.
all the frustration,
Yeah.
why? I guess it's PR and it's trying to say,
Maybe.
hey, you're a good guy and you're committed to the team, rah rah rah. But if you're a football player, you got to go where the money is because your career is very short and it could be here today and gone tomorrow.
Hey, we just brought up Devin Booker. The Phoenix Suns stink. And a lot of people say, hey,
Yeah.
leave that dump of a place and go somewhere else where you can get paid comparable money and try to win a championship.
That's
And
right.
he's committed to saying, I want to win here. Larry Fitzgerald said it in Arizona. There was all kinds of interest of this superstar wide receiver is eventually going to be entered into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, could go somewhere else to win a ring, and he refused. He stayed in his place. So there are certain people that are still built that way, I guess. Or as William likes to say, William Amelie here, gluttons for punishment, perhaps, is
William, one of my favorite new guys.
Yep, and William, maybe calling in here when we open up the phone lines in a minute. Before we get there, Bob, do you have any good training camp stories?
Yeah, in fact, I was thinking about it this morning.
Okay.
In the 60s, and I think I mentioned this before, the regular players on the squad only played in the last exhibition game. Literally, they did not play except in the last exhibition game. And that was considered to prepare them for the regular season starting the very next week. But in 68, the year the Jets won the Super Bowl.
Of course.
Actually, it started the year before. No, it was in 68.
Yeah, 68 to 69, right?
The AFL, NFL games started to really be played hot and heavy in the preseason that year. Now, ironically, Green Bay refused to play any AFL team in the preseason, even though they had dominated Kansas City and they went on to dominate Oakland that year.
Those elitist pigs.
Yeah, but in the 68 season, in preseason, the Jets played Atlanta, expansion team. So they beat them. It wasn't easy, but they beat them. And they played the Eagles, and there was a brouhaha that broke out in that game, courtesy Johnny Sample, who put a hard tackle on one of the Eagle receivers, and Sample got tossed from the game. Mike Ditka, who was playing for the Eagles that year,
Ditka.
He got thrown out of the game. And there was another player or two that got thrown out of the game. And that preseason, not Jets, Kansas City played the Chicago Bears. And Kansas City had been embarrassed, in the Super Bowl. And the final score of the preseason game, with everybody playing their regulars, Kansas City 66 and the Chicago Bears 10. And we should have looked at that and realized that the AFL was coming, that it wasn't just a Mickey Mouse league, that the players were legit. And Kansas City in those days was considered to have probably the best personnel in football, regardless of league, because they had really put a lot of money into signing collegians. So training camp was nothing like today. Like I said, the regulars played the last game, and that's all they played. Nobody played, one series, in any of the other games. So they took the last game seriously.
Wow. And it's so different now. That last game is the one they don't take seriously. That is complete backups playing in that game, and players who will likely be bagging groceries a few weeks after that game. So
and they all knew it, that if you didn't play in that last game, sayonara.
Yep, that's it. That was clearly a sign. All right, folks, we'll have an opportunity to open up the phone lines next. Grab a drink of water. We'll be right back after this.
All green, buzzing days Jets football, man. Boy Green, daily, bugging daily, bugging daily. New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. J-E-T-S, Jets. Let's go.
There you go, baby. That's the book, Beyond Broadway Joe, the Super Bowl team that changed football. You can get it wherever you get your books. Feel free to hit it up. It is on Amazon, and a wonderful read. We'll continue to have Bob on moving forward. We have him on every Friday, so you guys can continue to give your notes and quotes from the book and other things, and I see that coming now, including Hep, who's holding that book in front of him. Look at it.
Ooh, that looks like an interest.
Hep,
That looks like an.
How you doing?
Hep,
I
that
was
looks
too
like an
busy reading
interesting.
this book.
I've got to learn to stop talking over people. That looks like a really interesting
Look
book.
at it, paperback. Very nice.
Yeah, it's very good. I haven't read a book in a while because as you get older, it's a little harder on your eyes to read, you know? You get tired so quick. But this book is really good. It's nice short chapters, so you could get to the next chapter and then you could go forward, you know? The other thing is that Weeb, the bit you had about Weeb doing the notes on each individual player. Very interesting. Very good stuff.
I wish there had been enough room. In fact, I should go back and maybe try to do something about this. But I had access to so many notes, and I just obviously I couldn't share as many as I wanted to. So I do mention a bunch of them. But yeah, it was fascinating to read Weeb's commentaries and evolution of what he thought of his players.
Yeah, I mean, you really got some good insight, Bob. I mean, I was so many things I want to talk about, but I know there's other people wanting to clamor and get in here, so I'm going to break it down. You spoke about one player who played guitar on the team, and I forgot who it was. I think it was an offensive lineman.
Say that again. Player who what?
He played guitar.
Played guitar.
No, it was Bake Turner.
Who was it?
Bake Turner. He was a wide receiver. He was a backup wide receiver.
Okay, yeah, Bake Turner, and he went out to Richardson, the surgeon out in Long Island.
Yeah,
and he was playing for his daughter Connie.
Yes,
is that Connie Carberg?
I believe. So. I believe.
Yeah,
so, but better than that.
Yeah,
Bake Turner played. He was drafted by the Colts. He played for the Colts. And he swore that one of the reasons that he kept making the team for a couple of years is that he kept having private guitar sessions with John Unitas. Unitas was a Midwestern guy, and Bake was a country boy.
Yeah,
and Bake and he loved Bake to play, to come into his room, especially during training camp, and just play his songs and sing and when I met Bake Turner the first time, when I met him, this is like 2 years before the 50th anniversary, and the Jets Super Bowl team had a big signing outing in Yonkers. So I asked the players if it's okay if I come, and Philbin insisted I come out and meet the guys. So I went, and a couple of them I could tell from sight. I just looked at them. I knew who they were.
Sure.
And I was sitting in the lobby with Jerry and a couple of other guys, and this kind of short, thin guy walks by the elevator, and I said to Jerry, "Is that anybody?" And Jerry laughed, and I walked over and I said, "Hey, I'm Bob Lederer," and the guy looks at me and says, "And I'm Bake Turner." And Bake was one of my favorite players in '63 when they were first named the Jets. Bake Turner, Mark Smolinski, and Winston Hill all got cut the last week of training camp by Baltimore. And Don Shula told each of them and a couple of other guys, I think, go up to New York. I think we need some players.
Yeah.
And Bake Turner went. They immediately put him in the lineup in a preseason game, and he returned kickoffs. And Bake was pretty fast, not blazing, but pretty fast. He returned a kick, and his first play as a Jet, he returned a a kickoff return for a touchdown. It was like 96 yards or something like that.
That's nice.
But he had a terrific first year, and it wasn't with Namath. He was their primary receiver, and he took a lot of pressure off Don Maynard. And so they had a really good, two-pair receiving core there. But the very next year or 2 years later, they drafted George Sauer. Actually, they signed George Sauer.
Yeah.
And Big told me he knew at that point he was going to be backup. And he was happy. He was a backup.
That George Sauer story was very intriguing about having to live up to his father's reputation. That was very
I thought
interesting.
that was really interesting because his father, I had no inkling of this. George Sauer Sr., who was the only holdover from the Titans regime, was a football icon dating back to the 30s when he played in college. And he had a pretty decent career with the Green Bay Packers for a couple of years. He won a championship with the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
In the early days of the Green Bay Packers. And he went on to a pretty good college coaching career at Navy, and I'm trying to remember the other places. But George grew up in that household, George Jr., and he told me there was really never any pressure for him to play, but he wanted to be, like his dad had been.
Yeah.
And, he clearly outshone his father in pro football circles. And it was sad, but it was also fascinating when he retired because he basically had enough of pro football.
Yeah. 27 years old, he retired.
Yeah.
Right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
After the Super Bowl, and like you read in the book, he said, What other mountain do I have to climb? I've just done what my dad did, and I can't outdo what my dad did. He won an NFL championship, and I won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob.
Appreciate it, Hep. Thank you so much for the call. And I would say, because I'm sure you guys are going to love this comparison, but I was watching the Aaron Rodgers documentary a few years ago, and that's something apparently he struggled with as a young player. They win the Super Bowl, and now every player goes, now what? What do I do? What makes me a player? That's what I've been chasing forever. I finally achieved the mountaintop. Now what? And a lot of players seem to struggle
that's what
with
makes Tom Brady so absolutely out of this world amazing. Is how did he keep the adrenaline? How his competitiveness had to be completely off the scale.
Right.
Because it's so easy. It's so easy to, okay, I've done this before, I'll do it again. But he never played like that at all.
Think about what you just said earlier, Bob, right? You said that you tried to describe to some of us that were not alive for the Super Bowl what that moment was like, what that feeling was like. And you said the next time the Jets win a Super Bowl, it's going to be awesome, but it's obviously never going to compare to the first time. That's the same thing with the players. It's never going to be I heard, again, my dad's a diehard Cowboys fan. He talks about the 3 championships, and I've heard every Cowboy story from the start of time to the end of time. Yeah. And that's what they talk about. Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith. They're like, what's your favorite Super Bowl? The next one. But then when you really get them to stop joking around, they're like, it's the first Super Bowl and there's nothing else like it. So,
well, and think about Brady and what I said before about as you get older, you don't get better.
Right. That's also true. So,
yes, there's always a diamond there, and you just got to keep looking for it that is out of this world.
All right, let's keep going. A lot of people want to call in. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Up next here is he's back, baby. Man with the Jets tattoo. Welcome in, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Boy Green? How you doing, Bob?
Good morning.
It's a pleasure listening to you. I'm an OG like you, and I've been an OG.
I see 73, 12. So between those two numbers, where are you?
I'm going to be 71 next week.
Okay, are you just a kid?
I'm just a kid. Anyway, I got a quick Joe Namath story for you. Back in the 90s, I used to live in Florida. I used to go down to Tequesta, I don't know, once a month. And I had a doctor friend down there, and he used to say to me, you really love Joe Namath. He goes to the park with his 2 daughters. So now I'm going down there, and I'm hanging out at the park. I'm stalking Joe Namath. And I did it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I could never catch him there. So one day I'm in Tequesta and I go into Publix and I'm talking to the guy at the deli, and the guy says, "Oh yeah, Joe Namath comes in here all the time and buys cold cuts." So I said, "Hey, would you do me a favor?" He said, "Sure." I said, "If I leave my helmet here, you think you can ask Joe Namath to sign it?" He says, "I can try." So I left my mini helmet there, and I think it was about a month later I go in, and Joe Namath went into the deli and signed my helmet, and he wrote on it, "Hey, Carl, good luck, pal. Joe Namath, number 12."
Wow.
And that's really special to me because, you know, a lot of times a celebrity like that, they don't want to take the time to do that. They figure, well, the guy's going to get my autograph and sell it. And that's why I think he personalized it. But the thing is that it really, really is a special part of my Jet collection. And one other thing, I don't think you've ever seen this. I've never seen it on the show, but I've been enjoying my breakfast of Corbett Crunch.
Wow. I have never seen that in my life.
Yes, this is a box of Corbett Crunch
Carl,
that I bought when I lived up in New York.
Carl, who manufactured that? Who's the manufacturer?
Let's see. Honey Toasted Oats.
Oh, Post cereals.
I'm trying. Distributed by PLB Sports, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Let's get another look at that. Yeah, let's throw that up there. Wow, look at that. I have never seen that in my life.
There's a guy who certainly deserves Hall of Fame consideration.
Oh, you think
yeah,
so?
and there's a story on the side about him.
Okay. There you go.
And you can I should have ordered this, but it's a Crunch T-shirt.
Mm.
Oh,
Now
wow.
I will tell you, there is no cereal in there right now because I ate it many years ago.
My dad has a couple of. He has the Emmett Smith. He was on, some of the old cereals, and he still has a cereal in there. I'm like, Dad, just never eat this. But so I appreciate that you ate it.
I hope you enjoyed every single bite.
Yes.
Oh, basically it was Cheerios. Basically, that's what it was. It was Cheerios. But I only bought it for the box.
Yeah. Get back to Namath for a second.
Yeah.
I talked about, my two instances in meeting Joe in the hotel 50th anniversary meeting, a weekend. And the first time I saw him that morning, he was walking with one of his grandkids, who I think was like 3 years old, and walking out of the elevator, and I was coming in the opposite direction. And I just said, "Hey, Joe, hope I can talk to you later on today." And I just ducked down to his granddaughter or grandson and said, "Hey, how are you this morning?" And she said, "I'm good." And I looked up at Joe and he smiled. And later that day, he gave me the "see you later, I'm not interested in talking to you" stuff. And immediately,
Really?
yeah. And Beyond Broadway Joe. He didn't like the implication. That's what I heard from everybody.
Right. Yeah. And I was very surprised, when I could have gotten in a lot of trouble by sitting in a park.
Right.
And basically I was stalking Joe Namath.
No.
And, but I had never seen him. And, when I left that helmet in a Publix deli, I had no idea that he'd ever do that. But, it was real nice of him.
I think the fact that he personalized it made it valuable to you, and
Of course,
it was something that he couldn't really, sell to anybody else. The other thing is, after Joe stiff-armed me, Pete Lamons, who I mentioned before, became a very good friend, said to me, "Bob, don't make a judgment about him based on that. I know it hurts.
Yeah.
He does a lot of great stuff for a lot of people." And I said, "Yeah, I understand that, and I know that to be a fact, and whatever." But all I wanted him to do was to shake my hand and just walk away. That would have been enough. And
yeah, and I do have my. If you can see behind me, I have my autographed throwback jersey, Joe Namath.
Very nice.
But one other quick thing. When I was very, very young, probably under 10, I was down at the New York City Coliseum and it was in the 60s, New York Coliseum with my parents at some sort of sports show. And I was standing there, and my stepfather at the time said, "Hey, do you know who you're standing next to?" And I said, "No." And I looked around, and Joe Namath is standing probably 6, 7 feet away from me. And, I was this big, and he was way up there, And at that time, I didn't appreciate it as much. I was a kid, and I really wasn't interested that even during the Super Bowl, I was a teenager, and, I was about 13 years old at that point, but I was more interested in other things than the Jets. So, I still feel like excuse me?
Did you watch Super Bowl 2, 3?
Yes, I did. I had an uncle. That really is the guy that turned me on to the Jets, because my father wasn't really a sports fan.
You and me
He
both.
turned me on. Excuse me?
You and me
Well,
both.
he was a Jet.
Same story. It was my uncle who
Yeah.
got me into sports. My dad hated sports.
Well, he was a Jet fanatic. And years later, when I was in my 20s, I was living next door to him. And he said to me, we used to go to Shea Stadium all the time. And he said to me, he was 35 years old, and I was about 12 years younger. And he said to me, I'm never going to live to see another Jets Super Bowl. And I said, are you kidding me? You're 35 years old. And, he wound up dying. He was like 70-something years old. And I couldn't believe it. And I said, man, I'm 71. Am I ever going to see it? You just don't know. If it happens,
two things.
What do you think, Bob?
Well, two things. First of all, Paul asked me yesterday about memorabilia, or yet before about memorabilia. I have a Namath jersey too. It's not signed, but it's a knockoff. I think it was made in Singapore, but it looks it's exactly like the uniform the Jets wore when they won the Super Bowl. But like you, I had an uncle who basically took me by the hand to games and taught me whatever I learned about any sport. I mean, he took me to my first hockey game, my first baseball games, and part of the thrill I got out of life is when I took him to a baseball game for the first time, when I was making some money and I could afford to take him out. And he, oh no, I said, no, Uncle Charlie, you've taken me to so many games, and it's my turn.
Yeah,
turn the table.
Well, one more thing, Boy Green. I guess you want to know.
Let me make one more point.
Yeah.
Go ahead, make a point.
Randy Rasmussen in the book figured after they won Super Bowl III, they were going to do this every year.
I see that on the back of the book. There's that quote.
Yeah.
Quote, "It had been so easy, I thought that we'd do it every year. Then I found out what football really was." End quote.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's an underrated Jet. He's an underrated Jet.
Yeah.
But I guess you're wondering why I'm called the man with the Jet tattoo.
I did want that origin story. Oh, there you go.
Well,
wait, let me go full screen here. Hang on a second. There you go. Look at that. Forever.
Yeah, it's about 35 years old.
Doesn't look a day over.
You should have got the traditional logo.
No, that's my favorite Jet logo of all time.
I love that logo. I love that logo.
Most of the things that happened in the 90s. I think it was when I was sure the Jets were going to the Super Bowl, and me and a bunch of friends, we used to have a Jet bar down in Florida. We all had a little too much to drink and went down to the tattoo parlor and got Jet tattoos. So, there were times I wanted to cut my arm off, believe me.
When I was 13,
and it's a love-hate thing, Yeah. Anyway, I want to give your other callers a chance, and it was good talking about you guys. And remember, if you ever want a box of Crevette Crunch, you can just call me.
Appreciate that, man, with the Jets tattoo calling back in.
When I was
Yeah.
12 or 13 or 14 years
Yes.
old, I bought a white football helmet
Okay.
and I put a 12 on one side and
Hmm.
I painted not very well the jet
Yeah, yeah.
on the other side. I've
Uh-huh.
always loved that logo more than anything else for
Oh, that's
sentimental reasons.
hey, that's a good one too. And again, appreciate Man with the Jet Set too. He had been watching and listening to the show for a long time, and then finally he broke the mold and decided to call in a couple of weeks ago, and now he's
But
back.
Carl,
So
you have
that's
to
great.
read the book. Carl, you have to read the book.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. 100%. All right, let's go to our next caller here. Kyle Clifton's back on the show. What's up, Kyle?
Wow. Now
What's up? What's
I
going
am
on, gentlemen?
I
How
am
are you?
Yes.
touched. Kyle, I am thrilled to meet Kyle Clifton.
There you go. Legendary Jet. Thanks, Kyle.
The first autograph I ever had was Randy Rasmussen. I was probably 8 years old. I think my father got it for me on a bar napkin.
I love that.
I didn't appreciate it at the time, and I
Well,
got it in those.
I'm a complete idiot. This is not the first time I've seen you. You are the Kyle Clifton that played for the Jets.
I am not.
You are not. Oh,
I'm
well,
not.
forget everything I said.
I can tell, but our hairdo was very similar.
But you're very smart. I've seen you time and time again, and you ask really good questions and make really good points. So go ahead, lay it on us.
I appreciate it, Bob. So, yeah, I mean, to me, I love the new alternative logo that Boy Green has in the upper left-hand corner of his screen.
Yes.
The minimalist look.
Mhm.
I think they're trying to go for their own cowboy star there, and it's kind of working for me. But really what I wanted to talk to was the two gentlemen that were in the thumbnail when you started talking about Hall of Fame candidacy, meaning Gastineau and Mangold.
Yes.
So to me, the minimum criteria for trying to get into the Hall of Fame is 2 all-pro teams, preferably first team.
Okay, that's what I was just about to ask the follow-up. So, okay, good.
Right.
Yep.
And then 5 all-pros. That's where I think the jumping off point starts.
Oh, okay, so do you mean Pro Bowls on the 5?
Pro Bowls, yes.
Yeah. Pro Bowls 5, 3 all. Okay, gotcha.
So, by that criteria, they're both right there.
Yes, right.
But Gastineau is hurt because of the politics and what goes into it, like how he's perceived. Brigitte Nielsen, the late hit in Cleveland, the incident with Favre a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
All this stuff figures in the way I think. I think that Mangold has a very, very strong chance because
good.
When you talk about 2 first-team All-Pros and the second-team All-Pro and then 7 Pro Bowl appearances, you look at someone like Dwight Stevenson, who's in, he compares very favorably in my eyes. Ooh. And I wanted to see what you guys thought about that, and I'll probably shut up and listen afterwards.
Okay, beautiful. Kyle, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Bob, so we'll start off with Gastineau. That he was on the YouTube thumbnail. If people clicked into this video to watch, 2 of the players I wanted to ask about being on the edge of the Hall of Fame and whether or not they were worthy or not, or should we? Because Jet fans rallied around Joe Klecko. We tweeted about it. We posted about it. Articles were written. Gary Myers, a massive salute to Gary Myers for the role he played in finally getting Joe over the goal line. Deserves a ton of credit. We've had Gary on this show before. I'm a good friend. I love Gary.
I think of Gary as a Giant guy because he wrote.
Yes, and he was a Cowboys guy as well. So, he's sort of been all over the map of covering teams, and he was able to get it in. Do you think that we'll start off with Gastineau? Does Gastineau ever have a chance of getting the Klecko Senior Committee treatment and eventually getting in, or no?
I recently watched the ESPN special about the sack exchange.
Yep, 30 for 30, yep.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I thought that really damaged Mark a lot.
Yes.
Because I never knew there was that much animosity. I know that a lot of the players didn't like the dancing and whatever, even on the Jets.
True. Right. Point. It's a different era, right? That would have been celebrated now.
And again, because I'm from a different era.
Sure.
The dancing was okay, but to do it every time, and I mean today, I get sickened every time a guy makes a 12-yard reception for a first down and has to get up and feel like he's got to, I mean, really, really, I'm from the I'm from the old school that says score your touchdown, score your touchdown, put the ball on the ground, and get ready for the next play.
Oh, Barry Sanders scored the touchdown, hand the ball to the ref, and move
No,
on to the
in
next
fact,
play.
it started, with the Bears and Peyton. Peyton was the first one to actually say it out loud, because they asked him, "Why don't you do anything theatrical?" And he said, "I score my touchdown, I put the ball down, I give it to the official, and I mentally get ready to score another one." And I know
that worked out pretty well for Walter. So
yeah, I think the best case for Gastineau is that Gastineau really made the sack sexy.
Oh, for sure.
And not just because of the dancing, but because of how many he got and how difficult it was to block him. I mean, he was phenomenal for a handful of years. So I think he's got a problem with his image, that I think he's one of the guys that may not outlive his ultimate
So
place in the hall.
a potential for posthumously is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I hope that's not the case.
Of course.
Although I have some doubts over time whether he's going to get the recognition that we might want him to have. Mangold to me is certified. He's getting into the Hall of Fame.
Okay, beautiful. I love to hear this. First off, I'll give a quick shout out again to this.
Wow.
Kyle, thank you for supporting
down on that.
There you go, a double wow. Kyle, thank you for being a member for 7 months. We appreciate it. He mentions and to be fair, Mark's not his best self now either. Medically, right, he has been going through a lot of stuff. And it was sad because before we get to Mangold, just the 30 for 30, there's all kinds of things I learned about Gastineau that I did not know about his childhood, and also other things that it explains some of the reason, right? Like, people can easily judge Mark Gastineau from afar and get all these things, and then you say, oh, so some of the attention seeking was because he didn't get this attention at this point, and like a lot of pieces can sort of come together there that make a lot of sense.
But he played in the biggest media
That's
market
true.
in the country, and everything he did was being chronicled day by day. And the thing about, aside from his own how he came across in the ESPN 30 for 30, is that Joe and Marty didn't hold back on what they thought.
Oh no, his teammates.
Only Abdul, what seemed to be really forgiving,
right?
And to quote unquote understand what Mark was all about. And Joe is all football. So he's exactly the kind of guy that I just mentioned, that just get ready for the next play, and Marty was a guy in the same mold, not as focused as Joe was, but a hell of a player, and just let's play, and that infamous no tarpaulin on the field game against Miami, that really hurt the Jets as a team, and the defensive line in particular, because they got slowed down because of how bad the field conditions were that day, and Miami didn't have a world-beating offense, and the Jets would have completely dominated them that day. So anyway.
What could have been? I would just say I think Mark Gastineau should be in the Hall of Fame. To Kyle Clifton's credential numbers that he looks for, what's his prerequisites for being considered? 4-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, led the league in sacks twice, obviously held the single-season sack record for a long time before it was quote-unquote broken by one certain Michael Strahan, and he was a former Defensive Player of the Year. Again, I get there's a lot of extracurricular activity, but if you look at the Hall of Fame rules, you're not supposed to consider extracurricular activities. That's different in other sports, but for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it's supposed to be football considerations exclusively. You are not supposed to consider, it doesn't matter what they do off the field is what it's supposed to be. I know we're all humans when we're voting, so that stuff comes into play.
Tell that to Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and people.
Right. Sure, right. So
And
again,
I
for
don't
some
think, and
other
I don't
sports,
think
there's different rules.
I don't
But
think any of those three should be in the Hall of Fame. So,
well, there you go.
yeah.
Okay, different strokes, different folks. So appreciate that, Kyle. And I would say I'm glad to hear both Kyle and you, Bob, have such positive things for Mangold, because as I was sort of looking at the Hall of Fame and going, man, does Mangold end up being able to break in? Again, we've mentioned all the credentials of 3-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, and for periods of time was the best center in football. And he got the torch handed to him from Kevin Mawai. We had 18 years of like the best center play in the NFL, which was an absolute treat that I don't think people realized at the time. Mawai obviously better with the 7 All-Pros and 8 Pro Bowls, so he was a better player overall, but he doesn't have to be compared to Mawai.
But it was
go ahead.
It was a different time with fewer teams and
Sure.
fewer games. And I don't think that we can put enough focus on how many games they played today and how much more physical and the game is, because the players are bigger and faster and stronger. I mean, Rex has said, and he was telling me about it too, that when he went to go visit the Super Bowl Jets team when they got together, and then he looked at the team today that he was coaching. He said it was like pygmies against, the Lilliputians against the Giants. It's just a totally different era. And you notice you look at these. I get these every day. There's one baseball site that's playing the White Sox from 1959 who went to the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds Big Red Machine of 73 or whatever it was.
Sure, yeah.
But you never see that with football, because you're not going to see the 1960 Philadelphia Eagles even have a chance against an NFL championship team 10 or 15 years later. It's just not the same. It's not the same game.
Definitely not. And I agree with Kyle Clifton. The center position is also difficult. You're not seeing centers get inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on a year-to-year basis. So position bias obviously takes place there. Let's get some more calls in. It's a Friday, so Philly Noodles enters the octagon. What's up, Philly?
What's going on, Bob?
They still need a number 2 wide receiver. I don't care what you say.
I know. I'm with you, Bob. I'm saying, how did they get him? You know what I mean? How did they do it? I don't know.
That's fair.
Well, Bob, let's touch it. Bob, let's go. Let's talk about it. I believe 1,000% that they should have already gave Garrett a contract, only because now he's going to be competing just like Sauce first. Excuse me. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Sauce should have got his first, because now he's competing with a higher number. Garrett can be had, maybe not as high as a number, because considerably, you're not giving him what's his name's money, Chase. He's not
correct. Right, Chase is making $41 million per year.
You don't think he's going to take less? At worst, he's going to get the same money.
As who? Chase?
I don't think it's Chase. No way.
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't
41
think so.
million. That's a lot of buco bucks. Garrett Wilson, I just don't think. Here's the thing that hurts Garrett, and it's not his fault. Okay, he has had terrible quarterbacks. He's had 8 quarterbacks, and Justin Fields is about to be his 9th quarterback that he's played with. It's inherently unfair, which I think has limited what he's been able to produce on the field. But because of that, the Jets are not going to pay Garrett Wilson for what maybe he could have done in a magical fairyland where he had an all-star quarterback. They're going to pay him based on the results he's had. That's why I think gut tells me it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of $30 million per year. That's what my gut tells me.
What do you guys think about the growing number of reports coming out now about what's wrong with Justin Fields?
I think it's going to be the media. They got to spiral something, right? It's New York. We have never been in their pocket as a favor, right? So they're just gonna have to drum up what's been said about Fields. What else can be said? Maybe his mechanics is off and he can't throw a deep ball accurate, and it's going to be the same stuff. It's more about how can you utilize the player to your advantage, in my opinion, right? So that's how I see it.
I think it really does. I've made this point before, particularly about the Super Bowl team, but it's true today too. The coaching really makes a difference.
Yeah,
sure, absolutely.
They may not be able to fix, and they won't be able to fix everything that people find that's wrong with Justin Fields. But if they can get him to get rid of the ball quicker, and to make his reads better.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff will still be there, but it won't be as horrendous,
Yeah.
as they're trying to achieve. And that's what I'm hoping, is that, they can make enough minimal changes, in what he does. Because he's not a stupid player. So
No.
getting him in practice to get rid of the ball, 1, 2, 3, throw, 1, 2, 3, throw, and then to look beyond that first receiver, because as we made a point when you and I talked about this a few weeks ago, Philly, he's got to look past the first receiver, because Garrett's going to get double teamed almost on every play, and he's not going to have much of a window to get the ball to him. Now, maybe he'll throw a swing pass here, or just a really quick hitter, and get him, in stride. And by the way, that's another thing he doesn't do well. He doesn't hit receivers in stride. But he was better. He was better with Pittsburgh than he was with the Bears. So
what do you guys think about, BG?
Well, I would say this. On the Justin Fields thing real quick, I would say that obviously this show is every day, so we will give updates on Justin Fields based on what beat reporters are saying and things of that nature. But to me, if we're being honest, so we take a step back, it's a results-oriented business. Whether Justin Fields looks like Johnny Unitas in practice or he looks like Tim Tebow, it doesn't matter. It's all hubbub. It's all chatter. It's all nonsense. If he looks great in the preseason or bad in the preseason, we've seen plenty of Jets players that have dominated the preseason. Everyone remember David Clowney? Okay, what did he do? Did he go to the Hall of Fame? No, he did not. So regardless of what happens over the next month and a half until we get to the regular season, what Justin Fields does on the field is what's going to matter. So to me, the noise, right? We had Nick Ferria on the Man Chow Show Boy Green Digital Show, to Bob's point, and he was bringing up concerning things. He's saying, I'm seeing the exact same things in practice that I've heard about from my Chicago people, and that's concerning to me, says Nick Ferria, Jets reporter. And again, Nick's there, I'm not. So I want to say that immediately. But to me, again, it's all noise until we get to the regular season.
And they have minimal time to really work with him, because, and I was surprised when I heard this years ago, the teams are not allowed to really work with these guys off the field,
Correct. Outside, right.
They're not practicing. And I think that's one of the rules that doesn't make any sense. Why can't the Jets quarterback coach or offensive coordinator spend a week with Fields, out wherever he lives, and with the wide receivers, and work with them? I don't understand
how's that bad for the league, right? I don't understand that. That makes no sense. I don't know.
A couple more things real quick.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Phil.
Yes. Real quick, Nick Mangold, definitely, I would love to see him in the Hall of Fame. He is one of my 3 top Jets that I want memorabilia for. I have a signed Mangold jersey. I have multiple signed Corbett stuff, except for those crunches. That cereal looks pretty fire. And third is Revis. I got to get some Revis stuff.
Okay.
But and Bob, I'm going to come back to that one thing you said earlier in the show.
Here we go.
No. Yeah, I got it.
Bring it on. I'm ready for you.
Well, listen, Woody, I don't care how far he's got to dig in to keep coming up with more jerseys. He keeps bringing that swag to the field. I like it.
That's true.
Look at Namath.
Really?
Namath had the most swag.
How much does
we need a swaggy team?
How much does each edition of that swag run you?
I don't care. If it looks pretty dope, I'm going to go with it. Look at Namath.
Bob.
He had that fur coat. He had a fur coat, and we won the Super Bowl. So I want my quarterback to have a little bit of swag.
Idea. It could be a fake fur coat, but I'll bet you.
I don't care what it is.
Bob, in my closet across from this studio, I have 75 jerseys. I kid you not. And New York Titans, Pro Bowl, green jerseys, white jerseys, gray alternate jersey. I have every Jets jersey under the sun, and I will probably be honest immediately after the show looking for another one.
That's what my friend who had the Jets memorabilia has in his private collection. But it's like 60, 70-year-old stuff from back in that era. Yeah.
Hey Bob, I'm contemplating buying your paperback on my ride to Tampa to go see the Jets.
Nice.
Buy two.
Buy 2, one for me and the dog. You got it.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful.
Or give it to your best friend, or give it to a fan in Tampa that doesn't know about it.
Actually. Hey, Bob, you got something there.
Hey, we suck today, but let me show you how good we used to be.
Let me show you our greatness on paper bag. All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, Philly, thank you so much.
Bye.
There he is, Philly Noodles, joining us here on the show. So many calls. We're going to get to all of you here on the show. We have 300 people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe if you're watching here on the show. Appreciate it. This guy's been waiting since we opened up the phone lines like an hour ago, so we'll go to him next. It is Bill, your favorite, Bob, here on the show.
Hey,
my hero.
How's it going?
There it is, right
well,
there,
you
baby.
Tell me how's it going. How far have you gotten in the book?
I only got it a couple of days ago. Haven't reviewed it yet.
So it's a long summer. You got plenty of time to sit back and
there you go.
Put your heels up and remember what you never saw the first time.
Yeah. Raquel Welch was one of those women that made me wish that I was older.
I have to admit, I was 13, 14 years old when Joe was doing all this stuff, and it wanted me to be a little bit older too.
Yeah. God bless Joe Namath.
Yep. I remember when she came out in the what was it, 1 Million Years BC, and
that was her quote unquote breakout movie.
Yeah. It's like, boy, if all the cave women look that good, well, Marty Glickman and Dave Herman were my favorite announcers back then.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, and then of course I found out later on that Glickman was part of the Olympic team. Him and Jesse Owens were teammates, and I can imagine the Führer's look on his face to see both of them competing and beating up on their athletes. So
and the fact that he didn't get to participate because Avery Brundage told the U.S. Olympic Committee it would show up the hosts, the Nazis, and if Glickman even competed. So he was one of two Jewish sprinters that was not allowed to participate.
Right.
And he claimed, I've read his books, and I think he claimed he was the second fastest guy on the team after Jesse.
I have no doubts about it. Can
I make a comment about Marty Glickman as a Jets announcer?
Please.
Love them.
I love Marty. I love Marty Glickman as an announcer. I think I told you guys last week that I wanted to be a play-by-play guy. I did.
Yeah, right.
Did it in college and really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed inheriting or trying to use the philosophy that Marty had that he passed on to Marv Albert, which basically was to literally paint a word picture of what was going on. That being said, Marty Glickman did the Giants for forever.
Hey, I don't remember that.
Oh, he did the Giants. And when they got rid of Merle Harmon after the Super Bowl season, and I think it was the next year, or maybe it might have been the year after the Super Bowl, 2 years after, and they put and they went to WOR from WABC, and they put Marty Glickman in the booth. And Herman came a little later because Herman played several years after that. But listening to Marty Glickman do the Jets was not my cup of tea. I loved, I have here's the other memorabilia I haven't mentioned. I want to grab it. I want to grab it real quick and just show you. But I have the Jets album that WABC put out after they won the Super Bowl. And it's cuts from that Super Bowl season. And you can you can listen to it online on YouTube. And it still sends chills down my spine. And to hear Merle Harmon, say Namath drops back to throw, he's looking long for Maynard, and then you're sitting there and you're waiting, and what's going to happen? He makes the catch on the 20 and the 10 on the 5 touchdown.
Yeah,
Merle Harmon had a deep, beautiful voice. Like what's his name? Who does the NBA and even
Kevin Harlan.
He's like Kevin Harlan.
Oh, Kevin Harlan, come on.
If I bought the Jets, I would go to Kevin Harlan and say, Kevin, I don't care how much it costs. I know we're going to take a loss on it. I want you to be the radio voice of the New York.
Sorry, Bob Wischusen. Sorry, buddy.
Bob is okay. He's all right. But I love the deep, the typical.
Kevin's got a great set of pipes.
Yeah, great. And that was Merle Harmon. In fact, what I ought to do one of these weeks, I keep threatening, I ought to take, because I do have that stuff on digital, and just play a clip or two for you guys to
Oh, that'd be great.
to hear how good it was. And when Snell scored the touchdown
Hmm.
in the Super Bowl, Snell at the 5, Snell at the 3, Snell at the 1, he's in, touchdown. I mean, and he had said he's around left end and whatever, and but I was watching it on TV, and then I heard it later, and it was just unbelievable.
All right, Bob, that's your homework. Get some of those clips,
I gotta
those
get some of
files
those.
ready for
I gotta
next
get
week.
some of
That'd be
those.
amazing.
I got to earn my keep, otherwise you're not going to keep inviting me. What can I say?
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah,
My
earn your
my
place.
first exposure to football game, believe it or not, was the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
Ooh,
I
there you
was
go.
flipping the channels one day, and I came over on WOR, and they just happened to be playing the Irish game, and I'm listening to the voice of the broadcaster. I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds like Lindsey Nelson of the Mets.
Yep.
And sure enough, it was. And that's what got me to watch the game, and then I took the interest in football.
Well, he did.
Oh,
He
that's
did. No, he was
awesome.
the voice of Notre Dame with Paul Hornung,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and every weekend, the Sunday, this day after the Notre Dame games, because they did it all on Saturday, and it was like a 30-minute or an hour-long highlight show. And so he did that. And Lindsey Nelson was also the voice of the Cotton Bowl for years.
Okay.
But I said one of the reasons I got into the Jets is that I turned on WHN in 1963 one October evening, and I'm hearing the Jets in their first season as the Jets, and lo and behold, Bob Murphy is doing the play-by-play.
Oh, okay.
And I found out later, I went on a Mets cruise in 1985, the year before they won the World Series. And Bob Murphy was very nice, but his wife was even nicer. And I didn't realize that Bob Murphy was the voice of Oklahoma in the 50s when Bud Wilkinson was winning NCAA championships every year. So Bob Murphy had been doing football for a long time. And Bob did 1 year with the Jets, and then they brought in Merle Harmon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the
Wow.
Irish and the Sooners were my favorite college teams growing up.
Two good ones.
Yeah, very good teams. I recall a game, this is during the Michaels era, where I believe it was the Patriots beat them pretty bad, to the extent that Michaels accused them of stealing the Jets playbook prior to the game, because it seemed like they knew every defense the Jets were playing, and I think they lost like 56-3, if I recall correctly.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Oh
Patriots wouldn't steal signals from the Jets. That's unheard of.
Yeah, but this is prior to Belichick ever becoming a Patriot. So,
It's in their blood, Bill. It's
Yeah,
in their
right.
blood.
blood. Oh my God.
Those sick bastards.
It is crazy. It is crazy. As far as Hall of Fame goes for baseball,
Yes.
I would love to see Carlos Delgado get in there. I have no clue as to why he's kept out. Never got into the steroids. Was a great player with both Toronto and with the Mets. One of those players that the Mets get later in life and he still plays well. I'm like, all right.
I love the way he used to go to Yankee Stadium as a Met and just blow the cover off the ball. He
Yeah.
hit 3 home runs in one game against the Yankees, and
Yeah.
wow, he was an unbelievable home run hitter.
Yeah. I hope him and Beltran both get in. They both deserve it.
How about
That'd be
David? How
amazing.
about David Wright? There's,
Oh,
and I think
captain, my captain. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, David Wright should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what the numbers show.
I do believe, though, if it wasn't for the steroids, I think Bonds would still have gotten into the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's true. He had Hall of Fame numbers before
Yeah.
he started juicing up.
Yeah. Oh, I hate today's baseball game, the way it's played with these pitchers, 50 pitches, and you're and next guy, and I'm like, what's going on here? You got to throw 96, 97, 98 miles an hour. What happened to the Jack Billinghams and so on?
Well, Hey, I don't. What happened to the Greg Maddux type guy?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Greg Maddux when he first came up with the Cubs, and I will never forget. I went to Wrigley. I always go to Wrigley when the Mets are playing them, And in that time, he was 23 years old, and he was a fireballer.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mets were creaming him. I think they scored 12 runs off him in like 3 innings. And every pitch that they hit, every fastball they hit, he tried to throw harder than the next one. And they just creamed him. And yet, look at the way he pitched. And I don't understand why in the minor leagues they don't try to bring along guys like this. Nor do I understand why they don't have relief pitchers in the minor leagues pitching 2-3 innings at a time instead of
Right, exactly.
Even if you're throwing 95 miles an hour, you should be able to do that for more than an inning.
Yeah, the analytics era. Oh my God, I can't stand it. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, it's
driving me crazy. It's taking some of the joy out of the game.
For sure.
And
Bill, great to talk to you. And
thanks, Bill.
Enjoy the book.
Yes, sir.
And it's a great gift for Christmas, by the way.
There you go.
And I have the
hardcover. Boom, hardcover, baby. That's the way to do it. I love it.
Now, by my count, I only have 11,999 more copies to sell before I get royalties.
But who's counting? Who's counting?
Not me.
By the way, Bob, real quick, we have a question before we get to another call here. J-Boy says, Bob, can I send you, he bought the book already. Can he send you the book so you can sign it?
Absolutely. I would ask you that you send a separate envelope inside so I can get it back to you. And if you don't mind, prepay the postage. So whatever you send, what I think you can send a print copy of something in the mail at
to slap on, right, to come back.
Yeah, it's very cheap, but it does take longer. The post office will send it to me in 3 weeks. And I'll send it right back to you. No, I've done that for a number of people.
Okay, wonderful. So J-Boy and anyone else, by the way, who would like that courtesy, feel free to do that. Very cool of Bob, and thank you.
And while I'm at it, Paul, I have a handful of copies of the audio book.
Oh, great!
And you and I need to work something out where I'll get you a couple of copies that you can give as
oh, that would be wonderful. We would love to do some giveaways with that, Bob. So that'd be magical and great promotion for the book. So we could talk off air about that and also set up for the audio playing. A lot of people keep asking me about that. I said, we'll work with Bob. We'll work on that. That'll be coming in the near future. Let's get another call in here to wrap it all up. We got Indy Jets calling in. He says he has a Mark Gastineau story to share.
Hey, good morning, guys. Morning. Good to see you, Bob, BG. I know the public opinion of Mark is not the greatest thing.
It is not good. No.
Okay, but I'm going to tell you a story of a very recent story. Of Mark Gastineau. I already told you about how I became a Jets fan because of Mark Gastineau. Okay. Now, Connie Carberl put me in touch with Mark when her and I were talking about how I became a Jets fan. Mm-hmm. And so him and I had touched base back in, I don't know, I would say 2018, 2017, somewhere in there. And him and I were talking back and forth. And then he was diagnosed with cancer. He was going through his cancer treatments. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, when he was getting near the end of his cancer treatments is when my mother was diagnosed with cancer. Okay. Back in 2020. Mm-hmm. All right. And and so him and I were talking about, the different treatments that she was going through, the different treatments that he was going through. My mom went into the hospital and had one of her lungs or part of her lung removed. Okay. And him and I were talking, and I had told him, hey, she's been in the hospital for about a week now. And then I was going to on Monday to pick her up. And I was going to bring her back to my house, and she was going to kind of recover there. And so the day I went and picked her up, I get home, and we get home, and I see a big box sitting on the front steps. Okay, I don't recall ordering anything from Amazon or anywhere else. I'm like, I don't even know what it is, but I'll get to it later. Trying to get my mom in the house, get her comfortable. I'll deal with that later. So about an hour, I find, oh yeah, I got a box out there. I need to go out. And in this box, I open it up, and it's a letter from Mark Gastineau. Mark and Joanne sent me a wonderful letter. I mean, and a card from my mom, and there's a helmet in there that says Mark Gastineau sacking cancer.
Oh.
Okay, and him and Joanne wrote a 2-page letter and a card just for my mom. I met a woman they've never met before, but just just a real heartfelt, and how they were praying for my mom, you couldn't. To me, my experience with Mark Gastineau from 1984 to 2000, which was only 4 years ago, I I don't have the same experiences that other people talk about. The guy that I met in 1984 and what he did in 2000, for
2020, yeah, right.
or yeah, 2020. I mean, and is not the same person that people talk about. And so I just wanted to share that's not something. This is something very recent, and I say recent. It's within the last
Yeah,
4,
right.
5, 6 years. Um, like I said, even in our conversations over, during his treatments, the guy was so positive, and even when he was, um, down, going, when you're going through treatments, it just brings you down. The guy continued to say how he was he would meet people in the hospital, and how he would, just do whatever he could to help their spirits. And I'm like, this is not the same guy that I hear everybody talking about. Because and then he turns around and shows me something there's, like I said, it's the same guy that I met in 1984, sticks his hand out and says, "Hi, I'm Mark Gastineau. Come out and hang out with us for a little bit."
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think I think his participation in the ESPN 30 for 30 didn't do him much good, and I think it brought up a lot of negative stuff that was best left unsaid. I mean,
I agree.
it's not that it wasn't already known, but for a national audience in particular, and if you're a Jet fan and you watch that 30 for 30, and I'm sure most Jet fans did or will,
Yeah.
you sit there and you go, why is there this sniping, bringing these four guys together to celebrate what they were, who they were, and how great they were, and what is this sniping all about? Leave it in the back room away from the microphone. It
Correct.
left me feeling sad and feeling less positive about that foursome, because you'd like to think. I mean, I've read about the Rams and their fearsome foursome, and
Hmm.
those are also, many of them are Hall of Fame names, and you just never heard any of them backbiting or
You're right,
criticizing.
and I'm not saying none of those things are true about any of it. I'm just giving you my experience of what
No, I
happened. To say, for a man that I met him back in 1984, and and never had any other experience outside of Jets world
yeah,
with
yeah.
him, and then for him to um, you know take that and go, okay, I'm going to pray. Him and Joanne are to me, when I've talked to them, I've FaceTime them. We've had calls.
Sure.
Um, they've been real great. As when I see those people, when you talk to people, you can just see that. So they've always been great to me, and and like I said, and then like he said, the photo, or the photo, I'll send you a photo, BG, the
Please do.
the NFL helmet that he just wrote Mark Gastineau sacking cancer,
Yeah.
and he did.
I learned a long time ago, and I don't always follow it, but I learned a long time ago to not trust your first instinct, particularly when you're responding to something.
Right.
And I think the fact that, as you're describing it, Mark having his wife around him to deal with a particular incident or positive situation probably helps him. And I wonder how much his wife was around, when they did the reunion on ESPN, because I think she would have tried to, you know, mute it a little bit. But the fact that it got started and Joe was so willing to let it out, and Marty was so willing, and he's very careful, being a professional announcer, but he was willing to let it out. And Abdul Salam, who was very ill, obviously, was
Of course.
at a point in his life where he was going to let bygones be bygones and just move on and try to do something positive. And I
And
know
again,
that.
I'm not sitting here saying Mark was without fault by any means.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
just
it's
giving you
not.
my
It's
experience of
no.
this is a guy of public opinion that's not real high. And to
Right.
me, the two experiences that I've had with Mark Gastineau, which is the the beginning of my Jets career, to something that is completely non-Jets related, and that that's something that
Well,
it
again,
may
I
not
can,
sway
I
people's
can.
opinion, but it's just my
It's not.
experience.
It's not totally analogous, but I can point to Matt Snell. Matt Snell on a one-on-one basis with me is not the guy that refuses to talk to the Jets and hates their guts and whatever. To
Right.
me, he's a very kind-hearted, very well-spoken and thoughtful soul. And I'm sure Mark is like that too. And I'll just tell you that when my wife is around and she sees me starting to get reared up and geared up to blast something, she tones me down.
Right.
Well, I
So,
would
but
say this.
BD,
First off,
I
Indy,
appreciate you for letting me
yeah,
share
of
that,
course.
that
Yeah.
other experience. I told you about the,
Yeah.
1984 in Indianapolis, but this is a whole different thing.
Yes.
I just think that, and I'm thankful. I'm that relationship started in 1984 just to, happen again in 2020.
Indy, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that story. Thank you for calling in. That was a very beautiful story. That part of Mark Esto has not been publicized often. That generosity that he showed you, obviously, Indy, on a mano a mano basis. And Bob, I agree with a lot of what you said, that there is a lot of negative perceptions that are coming out of that ESPN 30 for 30 that did not seem to do Mark Gastineau a lot of favors. I would say, though, in my experience as a Jet fan watching that, I did feel incredibly sad for Mark Gastineau, but it was good for me to sort of see this side of Mark Gastineau. Like, wow, this is a guy that's hurt, that guy that's been hurt, and to see that vulnerability of Mark Gastineau, that he's beyond just the crazy guy dancing after sacks, that there is a human being behind the shell of what people perceive Mark Gastineau to be, to see that there's a human being there, to see that he just wants to be loved, both by family, teammates. He had a yearning, he had a passion, he had a desire to be loved and embraced.
I saw it as a desperation.
Sure, and like I said, some people had that takeaway from it. It just, and
Yeah. Hopefully the media can play up, more of what Indy just said, and
sure,
maybe Indy and other people need to, be more public about it more frequently to try to
yes,
bring it to light, because the media is always looking for dirt. They're always
sure,
looking for page 6 stuff.
hmm
And and nobody is all good and nobody is all bad.
of course not. Right.
Imagine today if Babe Ruth were playing,
Oh,
with all the drinking and the eating and talk about staying up all night.
social media. I mean, yes, that would be that'd be a different story entirely. And I'm sure maybe India is not the only one that has had this generosity from Mark Esto. I would imagine he is not, but maybe more of that can be publicized and maybe
I
could
don't
help
bet
his Hall of Fame candidacy.
I don't bet as you know, and I'd bet on it
Yes.
that's the case.
Right. I would as well. All right. One final plug here again. Beyond Broadway Joe, the Super Bowl team that changed football, that is available on Amazon. You can get this. There's both hardcover and paper book copies available. So make sure
And
you guys jump on it.
there's also an audio version.
There you go.
I wanted to do the audio version and they wouldn't let me. And
No.
I should have absolutely insisted on it, but I didn't.
Which is okay. We'll try to do even better with that.
By the way,
Moving.
to the gentleman that said he wanted to get a signed copy,
Yes.
my email address
Yes.
is RF like Frank L, RFL Bob
Mhm.
at Gmail. And if you send me an email, I will send you my mailing address so you can send it to me and we'll work something out. And if I just said it and you didn't write it down fast enough, I will, of course, provide it to Paul, and
Yes.
you can contact him and he'll give it to you as well.
Yes, I will absolutely do that to add that as another piece of the puzzle. Before we get out of here, real quick, shout out to Indy Jets for being so quick with this. Here's the helmet in which Indy was talking about that says "Sacking Cancer" from Mark Gastineau. There is the photo of the helmet and a beautiful story from Indy Jets. And cancer is a terrible disease. And that's beautiful that Mark Gastineau and you guys were able to connect on that story, and for him to do something like that. Obviously, it had such a tremendous impact on your life that you're even telling it here on this show. So awesome photo. Thank you, Indy, and thank you for that. Any final words,
and
Bob?
next week, to show that I also can let bygones be bygones, I may put on my Joe Namath Jets jersey.
Oh, wow. There you go. There's a good tease for next week. And next week will be even a week closer to training camp. Training camp in 2 weeks by the time we're speaking with Bob. Training camp will be in full flower. Next week we'll be on the doorstep of training camp beginning for the green and white. Bob, as always, thank you so much for joining us here for another episode.
Wow.
The only way
Please say hi to your daughter.
Will do.
How old is she?
She is 3.5. Zariah Luna.
Well, I've got two grandchildren. The youngest, the second youngest, and one of them is going to be 4 in the beginning of August. The other is going to be 4 at the end of August. So they might have an interesting 3-way wow conversation.
That I would love to see. For sure. Thank you to the 300 people that are watching live. Shout out to the people that listen to the audio-only version and watch the replay of this. We'll be back on tomorrow morning for another episode of
Paul,
Boy Green Daily.
Have a great weekend and a great week. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Bob. See you.